Hello, are we live? And is the sound good? I know this is last minute. Anybody who jumps on live, I appreciate it. Who is here? Let's see. Karen is here. Thank you, Karen. Meep, meep. Yes, today, everyone, greetings on this unexpected Friday live stream. I'm going to read some excerpts from a novella that I wrote, okay? And I want to thank you for this unexpected live stream. And meet, meet, right? Wow, Juan is here. Juan, welcome. I'm glad you could show up because I know you've recommended some books. I've been writing, Juan. I've been up to writing. And once you start writing, I guess you can't stop. It really becomes a good habit, right? Okay, so I'm not going to play any theme music because I don't know. I need to create a theme song for my writing. Let's see, are we good here? Everything's good. You can see me, you can hear me. Yes, you say you can hear me, Juan. Good, good, good. Have to straighten out everything. Okay, we're ready. Thank you. All right, so imagine this. Before I get into this, imagine a road in Philadelphia called Lincoln Drive. Who knows about Lincoln Drive? It's got a little lore to it. Lincoln Drive is where an unfortunate accident in Philadelphia involving Teddy Pendergrass, the crooner, very famous crooner Teddy Pendergrass. He had a very tragic accident on Lincoln Drive. So Lincoln Drive is got that lore to it. And imagine you're a child and you see a building on the other side of Lincoln Drive. You attend an elementary school on one side, and there's this building that is looming in the skyline of Germantown. Imagine that. And you've never seen the building close up. You've seen the top of it. And over the years, when you come back and forth to Philadelphia, because life changes, you're in different chapters of your life, and you move away, but you come back to your hometown, and the building is gone. Imagine that. It's gone. No trace of it. And nobody knows what you're talking about. Have you had that happen? 420 Wild Dragon, welcome. You may have had this happen to you, 420. Juan, have you experienced anything like that where a building is suddenly gone and nobody seems to remember it but you? Well, I wrote an essay on my Substack, and I expanded the essay into a novella. It has happened to you? Actually, yes. Okay. So you'll be able to relate. I want you to get into this as I read some excerpts from my novella. I will put the entire novella on my Substack. So don't worry, I'm gonna explain where my Substack is if you're interested. And just know that I'll make a habit of doing audio readings of anything that I write long essays, novellas. I'm going to make it a habit to read them to you so you can listen in the car. Or I know a lot of the Chatmosphere have told me that they're doing things like around the house, gardening, in the kitchen. I want you to have it in the background where you could listen, okay? And I want your feedback because I am a new author and feedback is welcomed. Okay. So, yeah, please give me your feedback. And especially for this novella, because I can edit it as you give me feedback, and hopefully my editor from the publisher for my memoir because I wrote a memoir I told you all about. I want to celebrate that with you all. I haven't had a chance to set that up. But I wrote the memoir and it's now in the hands of the publisher. And now they are doing all the stuff that they do to make it a real book that I can then, I'll let you know when it's going to be published. But it's in the stages of getting it published. And maybe my editor and friend over at the publishing house is listening. Hi there. I invited her to listen in just to, get a feel for another project, but I'm not going through a big publishing for this. This is something fun, a fun project, and it's fiction. So it's based on a childhood story. It's like a coming of age kind of thing. And I know that we all have the memories of childhood. I grew up as Gen X in Philadelphia, and it was a fun experience, very fun childhood. So you could probably relate. And if you're from Philadelphia and you remember things, help me solve this mystery of this disappearing building. Okay, so let's get into it. Again, thank you for joining. Let's get into, all right, this is it. All right, let me just let you know. Today I want to share, it's something brand new. And again, this is a novella. The title is The Keystone House. Okay, so I'm going to read the first 3 chapters. And I'll tell you how you can find the total novella, the rest of it, after I read it, okay? All right, so the title again is The Keystone House. This is a Time Storm novella premiere. All right, so let's get to bear with me as I get I had it set up. Okay, this will be chapter 1. And the title is The History Club. All right, ready? Get all settled in. Get yourself something nice to sip on. I don't know, are you at work on lunch hour? Put your earbuds in. I hope it's enjoyable to you, okay? Let me get a sip of coffee, get myself all charged up, okay? Who else is here? Oh, the guru is here. Peace and love to all. The guru is sending good love and vibes. Thank you. Welcome, the guru. All right, I got me a little coffee, little courage. This is scary, by the way. Don't think this is not scary. I'm a little nervous, especially I've invited you to give me feedback. So I'm a tad nervous, okay? All right. Now, let's get into it. Chapter 1, The History Club. Most people driving down Lincoln Drive in Germantown never noticed the tall apartment building hidden behind the old trees. And if they did notice it, they almost never remembered it afterward. The road curved past Lingelbach Elementary and carried traffic south towards Center City. Its afternoon lanes crowded with buses, delivery trucks, and impatient commuters trying to beat the evening rush. Horns sounded, engines growled, and tires hissed over the pavement as the city moved through another ordinary weekday. No one looked up the hill, but behind the branches of the towering trees, where the ground rose above the road, the building waited quietly with its stone walls and tall windows, catching the fading afternoon light. It looked like it belonged to another century, Inside Lingelbach Elementary, the last bell of the school day had already rung. But one classroom still buzzed with activity. History Club met on Thursdays. The students who stayed behind for it never quite described it the same way. Some said it was a history class. Others said it was more like a workshop. Eleanor Gray simply called it learning how the world works. Her classroom looked different from the rest of the school. Maps of early Philadelphia hung beside sketches of bridges and sailing ships. A small spinning wheel stood near a basket of wool yarn. On another table rested drafting tools, bits of carved wood, and mechanical pieces from old devices most of the students had never seen before. Miss Gray believed people should learn many kinds of skill. Great societies, she often said, are built by people who can think with their minds and work with their hands. That afternoon, Ruby sat carefully stitching a small line of embroidery into a piece of cloth, while Taryn studied a garment pattern spread across the table. Garrett examined a small brass mechanism Miss Gray had brought in from an antique shop, turning it slowly between his fingers. Across the room, Darren leaned back in his chair, carving a small wooden whistle with a pocket knife, concentrating harder than anyone expected him to. Miss Gray watched them quietly from the front of the room. "You see," she said gently, "history isn't really about memorizing dates." The students looked up. "It's about understanding the people who shaped the world." She just gestured around the room. Builders, farmers, musicians, craftsmen, teachers, inventors. Garrett held up the small mechanism. "Like Franklin?" Miss Gray smiled. "Yes. Benjamin Franklin was what we call a polymath, someone who developed many abilities instead of only one." Outside the classroom window, thunder rolled faintly across the sky. Ruby glanced toward the glass. For just a moment, she thought she heard something else beneath the distant rumble. A bell, clear and high. She frowned slightly. Miss Gray stepped toward the window and looked out toward Lincoln Drive. Storm clouds were beginning to gather over Germantown. "The truth is," she continued quietly, "the world is still full of doors most people never notice." Darren raised an eyebrow. "What kind of doors?" "The kind that appear when the right moment arrives." Miss Gray closed the book on her desk. That's enough history for today. Backpacks were slung over shoulders as the four friends stepped out of the classroom and into the late afternoon sunlight with the rest of the Lingelbach students. They walked together down the hill the other way they always did. Ruby, Taryn, Garrett, Darren. The climb up Johnson Street began just past the corner, where rows of brick apartment buildings lined the hill above the schoolyard. Ruby's family lived at Johnson Park Apartments, one of several complexes that filled the block. The others lived in neighboring buildings across the street or further up the hill. Most afternoons, they walked the same route together before splitting off toward their separate entrances. Darren was already halfway down the sidewalk before the others caught up. "Come on," he called back. "If we don't move, my mom's going to think I joined the chess club." "You did join the chess club," Garrett replied. "That was temporary," Darren said. "Strategic." Ruby laughed as they reached the corner. "You say that about everything." Taryn slowed beside her. "You okay?" she asked. Ruby hesitated. "I thought I heard a bell back there." Garrett turned around. "A bell? From where?" Ruby shrugged. "I don't know." Darren shook his head. "Man, the only bell around here is the one telling us we're late for dinner." They kept walking. Across Lincoln Drive, behind the thick trees along the hillside, a tall building stood quietly in the growing shadow of the storm clouds. None of the four friends looked toward it. None that afternoon. Not that afternoon. Inside the empty classroom, Eleanor Gray stood once more at the window. She watched the sky darken slowly above the trees lining Lincoln Drive. Thunder rolled again, closer this time. For a moment, her gaze rested on the building across the road. Then she spoke softly, almost like a prayer carried into the coming storm. "Not yet." She turned out the lights and closed the door. Across the road, the Keystone House waited patiently among the trees, just as it always had. Okay, so that's chapter 1. And anybody just joining, I want to thank you for joining. So I'll read chapter 2 and chapter 3 as samples. So chapter 2 is the city as classroom. Arrival. Sunday mornings in Philadelphia carried a different rhythm than school days. The trolley bell clanged as the green streetcar rolled down Germantown Avenue, its metal wheels humming against the rails while passengers swayed gently with the motion. Ruby, Taryn, Garrett, and Darren sat together near the back, their knees nearly touching as the trolley rattled toward Center City. Miss Gray stood near the front, holding the rail with one hand, her satchel tucked neatly beneath her arm. Next stop, the Franklin Institute, she announced over the soft chatter of passengers. Garrett leaned toward the window, watching the overhead trolley pole scrape against the electric wire above them. Every few seconds, the contact sparked faintly against the gray sky. Movement. You ever notice how everything in this city runs on something invisible? Garrett said. Darren raised an eyebrow. You talking about electricity or SEPTA delays? Garrett ignored him. I mean the current, he said, pointing upward. That wire powers the whole trolley. Miss Gray overheard and smiled slightly. Electricity fascinated Benjamin Franklin for the same reason, she said. It's a force we cannot see directly, yet it moves through the world constantly. Ruby shifted in her seat. At that exact moment, she felt the brass key hanging around her neck grow warm for a brief second. She touched it instinctively. The warmth vanished. Discovery. The trolley clanged again as it turned toward Market Street. Downtown Philadelphia rose ahead of them. Tall buildings, busy sidewalks, the slow rumble of buses and delivery trucks. Miss Gray gathered the group near the door as the trolley slowed to a stop. History is best understood on foot, she said. The quad stepped onto the pavement with the rest of the passengers and followed her through the crowded streets. Within minutes, the stone columns of the Franklin Institute rose before them. Garrett stopped short. Man, Franklin must have been serious about science. Miss Gray chuckled softly. He was serious about curiosity. Tension. Inside the museum, they wandered through displays of early experiments, static electricity demonstrations, early mechanical inventions, lightning diagrams showing Franklin's famous kite experiment. Miss Gray paused beside one particular display, a brass key attached to a thin wire beneath a model storm cloud. Franklin believed lightning revealed hidden forces already present in creation, she explained. Ruby glanced at the key. The brass looked almost identical to the one she wore around her neck. A faint ringing sound brushed past her ears again, like a bell carried through a long hallway. She looked around. No one else reacted. Reveal. Later that afternoon, Miss Gray led them through the narrow brick streets of Old City. They passed his historic courtyards, churchyards, and quiet alleyways where the earliest printers and craftsmen of Philadelphia had worked centuries earlier. The city felt different here, older, quieter. Eventually, They entered Reading Terminal Market, where the air smelled of bread, spices, and roasting meat. At the far end of the hall stood a familiar figure in colonial clothing greeting tourists, Benjamin Franklin himself, or at least the actor who played him. The man tipped his tricorn hat when Miss Gray approached. "Well now," he said warmly, "always a pleasure to see students interested in the work of curious minds." Garrett grinned. "You guys planned that or something?" Miss Gray only smiled. Exit hook. Later that evening, the group walked along the Delaware River waterfront, where the tall ships of the coming bicentennial celebration rested quietly in the harbor. Lantern light reflected across the dark water. Miss Gray paused at the railing overlooking the river. "You see," she said softly, "history is not as far away as most people think." The quad watched the ships rocking gently in the tide. Behind them, the city lights flickered. Far above the rooftops, storm clouds gathered again over Philadelphia. Ruby touched the key at her neck. For a moment, it warmed, and somewhere beyond the sounds of the harbor, she thought she heard the faint ringing of bells again. Okay, so that was chapter 2. Again, thank you. Oh my goodness, you all, look who joined us. Girl Code. Oh my goodness, look at what this day has brought already. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad to see you, Girl Code. Welcome. This is awesome. I stumbled on Girl Code. She had a live stream, but I missed it. I came too late. But oh my goodness, we are clicked. Look at that. The whole band is getting back together here. Look at that. Wow. This is amazing. Look at that. All the love, Girl Code. Yay. I'm so glad to see you. Wow. Look at that. Corinne. Welcome, Corinne. Oh my goodness. All right. This is so exciting. Okay. So I will now read chapter 3 of the Keystone House, a Time Storm novella, a premiere. Okay, chapter 3 is titled The Keymaker. Arrival. The streets of Old City always felt quieter than the rest of Philadelphia. Brick sidewalks replaced concrete. Iron lanterns hung beside narrow doorways. Even the air carried a different scent. Metal, oil, old wood, and something faintly sweet drifting from nearby bakeries. Miss Gray led the quad down a narrow side street they had never noticed before. Garrett slowed, glancing up at the old buildings surrounding them. "You sure we're still in Philly?" Miss Gray didn't turn around. "Philadelphia is layered," she said. "Most people only walk through the top layer." They stopped in front of a small workshop tucked between two taller buildings. Above the door hung a wooden sign darkened with age. Harrison and Sons, keys and locks since 1832. Movement. Inside the shop was warm, filled with the quiet music of craftsmanship. Brass tools hung neatly along the walls. Drawers of tiny metal parts lined a long workbench. The smell of heated metal mixed with sawdust and oil. An elderly man looked up from his bench, polishing a key with a small cloth. His eyes brightened immediately when he saw Miss Gray. "Well now," he said, standing slowly, "if it isn't Miss Eleanor." "Good afternoon, Mr. Harrison," she replied warmly. The quad exchanged glances. Miss Gray rarely introduced them to adults who greeted her like an old colleague. Discovery. Mr. Harrison opened a velvet-lined wooden box resting on the workbench. Inside were 4 brass keys. Each one was unique, not ordinary house keys. Their shafts were engraved with delicate patterns, tiny stars, winding lines, and small geometric shapes Garrett immediately recognized as mechanical markings. Darren leaned forward. "Those look expensive." Mr. Harrison chuckled softly. "Yeah, they're valuable, yes, but not for the reason most people think." Miss Gray gestured toward the box. "These were made for you." Tension. The room grew strangely quiet. Garrett picked up one of the keys carefully. The metal was heavier than he expected. "Why would we need something like this?" he asked. Mr. Harrison studied each of the children for a moment before answering. "Because someday," he said slowly, "you may need to open a door most people can't even see." Ruby felt the small brass key Miss Gray handed her settle against her palm. For a split second, it grew warm. Reveal. Miss Gray spoke gently as the children attached the keys to the cords holding their latch keys. "A key," she said, "is never just metal." She paused. "It's a promise." Darren raised an eyebrow. "A promise for what?" Miss Gray smiled in that quiet way that made it impossible to tell whether she was joking. "For responsibility." At the far end of the room, a small clock chimed. The bell tone rang unusually high and clear. Ruby froze. She had heard that sound before. Exit hook. Outside, storm clouds had begun to roll slowly over the rooftops of Philadelphia. Thunder rumbled faintly in the distance. As the quad stepped back onto the street, Garrett noticed something strange. The brass key in his hand was vibrating slightly. "Miss Gray," he said. She turned. Garrett held up the key. "It's warm." Miss Gray glanced at the sky. For just a moment, the calm certainty on her face deepened into something more serious. Storms, she said quietly, have a way of revealing things that normally stay hidden. She started walking again. Come along. The quad followed her down the narrow street toward the trolley line. Behind them, Mr. Harrison watched the children disappear into the crowd. Then he looked up at the darkening sky above the rooftops. About time, he murmured. All right, so that was chapter 3. And in this novella, chapter 4 is Cheesesteak Storm. Chapter 5, Crossing Lincoln Drive. Chapter 6, Life Inside the Keystone House. Chapter 7, The Storm Tightens. Chapter 8, The Return Across Lincoln Drive. Chapter 9, Lesson of the House. Chapter 10, House at Night. Chapter 11, The Night Promise. Chapter 12, Later the Bells Return. Chapter 13, The Journey South. Chapter 14, The Island of Horses. Chapter 15, The Church Bell. Chapter 16, The Great Cumberland Storm. Chapter 17, The 17th Mile. So there are 17 chapters in this novella entitled The Keystone House. 17 chapters, and it ends on chapter 17 entitled The 17th Mile. All right. Thank you for listening to these sample chapters. Let me see what you all are saying. And I really okay, I'm nervous to see your feedback. Like I said, I invited my editor. If you're out there, hello. You can, you may not want to join us in the chatmosphere, but you are welcome to join us. I'm not going to name you, but everybody, I invited my editor and I'm nervous, okay? No, she is so encouraging. I love her. This whole process of writing a memoir, because that's what I'm working with. With that is my memoir that I finished is now in the hands of the publishing, and they're doing their thing with it. In the meantime, I just want to continue writing and writing and writing. And I want to get your feedback because I'm going to do the writing. I'm going to place it on my Substack. Okay. So I'm going to tell you where to find the Substack in a minute, but let me see what you all are saying. Let's see. Well, Karen has the keys, right? We're going to deal with a lot of key. Juan said about time. Love that. Oh, did you love that? Okay. Yes. Corinne, did you? Oh, thank you, Corinne. Okay, I want feedback. If you see anything, I know reading, that's the whole thing. I want to practice more of the reading because I want to do the audio stuff. And I just put an essay up. I didn't name it The Keystone House, but we'll go to my Substack in just a bit. And I read the entire essay on Substack. And I want to tell you, Substack is amazing. If you're not over there, whoever has joined me on Substack over there, I thank you. They are now doing podcasting over there inside the app, as well as recordings and live streams and all this stuff over in Substack. So I really want you to head over. Do I see Sean McPeak has been here? Sean is here. Oh wow, Sean, I love that old car. Is that one of your collectibles? Great job, Jen. Thank you, Sean. That means a lot. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. Girl code. I love that. I love that. Could it be been a time clock machine that was revealed? Oh, great job, Sissy. Thank you. And you know what, Girl Code, I know that you're going to appreciate this novella because it deals with Boston. A lot of the old cities, Boston, Savannah, Charleston. So it deals with American cities, and it goes from Philadelphia down south to Cumberland Island. Okay, I guess you caught that. And you know, I have a thing for Cumberland Island. So it's going to travel in this story. Juan, I'm sure we all agree that we need creative thinkers writing books these days. Yes, especially for the youth. Thank you. I see you writing more. Prove me right. Thank you, Juan. Listen, from your comment to the Most High Yah's ears and eyes, because I feel inspired to do just that. I want to create material that can be a legacy and can inspire young people to start thinking this way. We need more creativity. Hollywood has made the creative space so dark. And we have the power right now. You don't need to go to you don't need to go to a graphic artist or anything. I create my graphics in Canva. Has anybody ever heard of Canva? I have taught myself how to use Canva, and what you're seeing is what I create in Canva. For me, Canva is like throwing me into an art class because I always loved art. It's like giving me all the markers and crayons and paint and giving me palettes. And you can be so creative inside of Canva. It's amazing. I have so much fun. So I created the illustrations right here for the book. And the little children that attend Anna L. Lingelbach Elementary, I actually did go to that elementary school in Germantown. So the students, you can see them. They're going to become, you'll get to know them more in the story. And I've grown to love them because I could just think about these children, growing up with them, because I grew up with a lot of really cool kids. They may not like me because of my politics anymore, but that's okay. But the little girl that has the Princess Leia buns, her name is Ruby. Okay, based on my grandmother Ruby, of course. And then you have Taryn. Taryn is the little girl next to her. Taryn is, she's a curious little girl. All of them are intellectually curious. And then you have Garrett. Garrett is our very feisty redhead boy, and he is very mechanically talented. He can take anything apart, put it back together again. And then you have Darren, and then the teacher that you see her on the bike there, that is Miss Eleanor Gray. Eleanor, named after my Aunt Eleanor, of course. And the apartment building across Lincoln Drive is where Miss Eleanor lives, inside that very special Tartarian building across Lincoln Drive. So I won't give too much more away for this novella. I want you to read it and listen to it, and I'll have it up on Substack really soon. I'm going to work on that today. I wanted to read these excerpts to give you an idea of some of the stuff that I'm working on. And when my memoir, which is entitled American John, when that is published, I will definitely keep you posted. In the meantime, I'm going to keep writing and sharing. And let's see. What else are you saying? Interesting, man. I can't wait to get, oh, my memoir. Yay. I'm so glad. Yes, Sean, Hollywood is very much, oh my God. You love using Canva? Yay, you do? Oh, I bet you do, because there's a lot of creative people in our chatmosphere. Lots and lots. Yes, American John is coming soon. Thank you, Karen. And you're waiting on that memoir. Thank you. You are. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Tribe of Gens. Right? Are they my little ensemble? That's funny, Sean. That's real funny. Yes. So I will be sharing more as I'm going to upload the Keystone House in its entirety on Substack. Let me just, oh, wait, let me go to Substack. Let me show you. Hey there, everyone. Okay, so let me show you Substack. All right, this is the name of my Substack where I will house this novella. And the name is simply American Jubilee over on Substack. And if you go at American Jubilee 1776, let me put it in. So it's Substack at American Jubilee 1776. And this story takes place in the 70s, okay? So 1976 is basically when this story is set, the main timeline, as I'll say. And this is during the bicentennial. I know that anybody who, lived to experience the bicentennial in 1976. Yes, I'm dating myself a bit here, but it was a big deal in Philadelphia. And you know that we are approaching I have to practice saying, all of these. We are approaching let me get my wording. This is the semi-quincentennial. Let me put that in the, we are approaching our in July, the 250th. So this is really apropos that I'm writing about these children back in 1976, and they are going to experience the bicentennial. Okay, I gotta get bear with me, centennial. So this is the 250th anniversary if you're not paying attention, I hope you are paying attention that this is a big year for America. So this is the semi-quincentennial, 250th. And I'm really in that spirit right now. All right, really, really in that spirit. Yes, the Substack is American Jubilee 1776. Thank you so much. And if you head over to the Substack, give me until the end of the day. Check back like by 5 o'clock. I'll have it, because if I haven't read it all, did I read it all? Give me by the end of the day. You can check though. Please go to Substack in the meantime, and please, follow me on Substack so I'll do some live streams over there, and I'm really considering a podcast over there too. And, also let me just say, for anybody who wants to, this is up to you. if you want to tip or support in those ways, you can always hit me there. Publishing a memoir is wow. I didn't realize you have to definitely, you don't want to do it for free, right? And then you don't want to, of course, if you're not a big name celebrity, you're not going to be picked up by those huge Random House and all these people. But this is the best way that I have found to publish. But if you want to support in any way, you can do that there. And Cash App, PayPal. I'll have it in the description, of course. I always appreciate anything. I've always thank you all for the ones that do. But also, if you support me on Substack, I will have the first 3 chapters of this novella. I'll have it where, you can just read it. But then if you want to also support me, that is a good way to support your girl, the emerging author, writer. You can do it through the Substack as well. Okay. So I want to thank you all. And I didn't do any theme music. I'm going to think of something nice. I create all of my theme songs on Canva. Also, if you support me through the Canva, of course, I try to do the premium subscription because you get more. But I appreciate all supports towards our American Jubilee because I want the arts to elevate, like you were saying, Juan. We need to put more creativity out there, especially some of the things that we all have been following. That's why I wanted to do a time storm, because actually Girl Code turned me on to the Y Files. Who watches the Y Files? Who knows about the Y Files? I love the little fish, the talking fish that has teeth. Hilarious, okay? Well, I love the Y Files, and recently they did a piece on time storms. Okay, yes, I'm so glad you turned me on to that. What's the host name? Is it Joel? I want to say Joel. Maybe I'm thinking of Mystery Science Theater. See, you guys are my tribe. You all are the ones that like things like Mystery Science Theater 3000, right? So you would like the Y Files if you're not following them. But Girl Code actually turned me on to that. And yeah, so I want to thank you all for joining me again for this reading of the Keystone House, a Time Storm novella premiere. And I'll do more of these, and I will keep you posted on my memoir, American John, when it will be complete, okay? So again, thank you, and I will have the Keystone House, like I said, I'm going to work on that today, getting it up on Substack, all right? So let's see. When are we going to, we're going to have something real soon. In fact, we're still doing a retrospective of American culture. So we are up to 2000 and, oh boy, I forgot. I think 2005. We're making our way through pretty good. Rewinding a lot of events that we lived through, but we may not remember. It was all a whirl, a time storm of sorts. But yes, so I will let you know about tomorrow. I want to continue the retrospective tomorrow. So I'm looking to do that. And I'll let you know. Just look out. I'll always let you know on YouTube. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you like what you see, I always like to ask you after, because then you can make your decision then, not before, okay? So if you like this reading and you want me to do more of these, you want to encourage me, you know how to, okay? And I thank you. Take good care. Love you all. See you soon.